and welcome to the ESI Africa studio at Enlit Africa. Today I've got Quintin Lamprecht with me. He's the Managing Director for Allbro. Hello, Quintin.
Hi, Teresa.
So let's just dive right in here. With more than 40 years experience in manufacturing equipment for power generation and distribution, what has Allbro's really deep experience taught you about how you should be approaching emerging generation technologies and this evolving infrastructure need that we have in Africa?
So it's more than 40 years, since 78.
Okay.
If you think about starting a business in 1978, it's in a garage. So it's a family business at the time. I'm not part of the family. So I came in 15 years ago from corporate side. But it's a slog. So you're building your own machines. You're trying to get people to work with you on raw materials. You're trying to develop composites. And starting up a small business, anybody that's tried, it's a real grind. So that process has changed in a lot of cases. And I think that process is very valuable to separate people that can and don't run businesses well. So I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen the stats, and I don't think they're that easily available. People that have got starting capital that haven't yet suffered and tried to make it work on their own, I think there's a lot of merit in it being difficult. So you can imagine over that journey, lots has changed. So the grid is still the same grid. So some of the principles are still the same. But when you say evolving, it has evolved. So we've had specifically like some of the protection became more electronic, and how we're generating power has changed too. So all coal fire, we obviously had nuclear as well, but a very traditional grid, and then going towards renewables and decentralized grids, that becomes a shift. So that's changed some of the technologies, but essentially the principles that you have for manufacturing, making as many as you can, as well as you can, for as cheap as you can, to be relevant and to be able to manage that cash flow and that growth. I think that's really a journey that, statistically, most companies don't make. So that experience is what really, we can see it in the business. We make the same decisions. Just because we're bigger, we employ about 500 people. We have the same caution of what we choose to develop, and then how quickly it has to pay back. So those lessons are ingrained in the business for that period.
Okay. Now, you actually mentioned energy transition. So what role do you see Allbro playing in this energy transition, especially when you think you have to balance the need of the grid for reliable infrastructure, but then on the other hand, renewables are coming on and it's really changing what's going on the grid. So what's your role?
So it's a bit of luck, I suppose. It depends on what you are making, what you are good at. You can't look at a change in technology and say, I'm going to change my business model to be relevant in that technology. So we happened to be already, probably, it's without question in South Africa the biggest. We're producing 400 tons of raw material a month that we turn into product. And that material happens to have an excellent flame retardancy. So it's different than plastic. It's not flammable. So the other characteristic it has is it's got excellent UV characteristic. So decentralized grids by nature, they're out there in the sun. They have to be in the sun because we're trying to harvest the sun. And the other thing is DC has got a different characteristic than AC, in that when you open a contact, you have the energy is not dissipated by the AC waveform going through the 0 point. So you have a sustained arc often. So our material was ideal for that. We saw that opportunity. There were already some people in that space, internationally, but not locally. And we rapidly developed something for that market in sizes that we didn't have, but with the material we already were experts at. So it's a very relevant expertise that we could apply to an emerging technology.
Just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, again, considering this long track record that you have in the power sector, how are you able to influence the global conversation? Because you don't just work here in South Africa, and particularly when it comes to underserved and rapidly developing regions that you are very familiar with over here. What have you been able to teach companies out there?
I'd love to say we taught them anything, because it reminds me of a scene from Avatar where the new guy meets the spiritual leader, and she says, I can't teach you guys anything because you can't fill a full cup And that's kind of how it feels for me when we talk to the advanced first world economies. They're really not really interested. They are looking to maximize their footprint with their products in our countries. So to be able to make that argument that we want to localize and that we are much better than you think. I mean, I don't know the other countries as well as I know my own, but we have a rich manufacturing history in South Africa and we're really capable. And we've proven it. So we export our products. I mean, we're very strong in Australasia. We've had projects in the Philippines. We have projects in the US, in Germany, in Saudi, in the UK. We have an office in the UK as well. So we find ourselves now in the other position where we've got countries that are less sophisticated than us saying, how much can you localize in our country? And you pause for a second because you're going, the immediate first thought is to do what they're doing, what the Europeans did to us. And we've actually engaged in how would we start? And we've designed a production line now for one of the African countries. I can't speak about it yet. And now a second one where we would do the final stage of assembly. And where we would go next, we've already designed. And where we would go next, we've already designed. So I think the best way to teach is not to try to change their behavior, but to change our behavior, and then hopefully it works. Yeah.
That's going to get quite interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will have challenges, but it's something that I'd like to have a few goes at.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to you coming back into the studio and explaining how that goes, because it sounds intriguing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned for the next episode.